So, back in Jonathan Hickman's X-Men issue 9 and 10, there was a story around the king egg for the Broad. And I always felt that the story should have continued. It just was dropped there and then it stopped. As Hickman does, he creates lots of little threads and then he sods off. And I always felt like it was an untold story. And that's the sort of thing that Jonathan Hickman does. And this is why I was sort of irritated where he just went off to direct the X teams, so to speak, and stopped doing the writing. However, Gerry is picking up where he left off, and I think he's starting to sort out some of these threads and give us the delivery that we deserve. So rather than having the ultimate Hickman story, we've had Hickman drop some stories and Gerry Duggan come and clean them up. Hello, welcome to a Smurpy video. Not my usual start, and today we are looking at X-Men issue 19. That was just something that I really wanted to get off my chest quickly in case I forgot about it. So we have this beautiful, beautiful trade-in card cover. I'm glad that these are back. The last issue that I had didn't have one. This is by Russell Dolterman and based off the 1992 Jim Lee cards, which were amazing. So let me get this in a position. So Forge just says, it always starts with a problem. He comes in and solves it. So the beginning of the story is Monette and Forge are talking to Prodigy and Sage about a problem. Now, this problem is that nowhere that was sucked into a black hole still has a gate active. And they're trying to understand, well, Krakow was built after nowhere disappeared. So how did this happen? Well, Ford says, I asked a buddy of mine, Cable, to go back in time, put a thing on there, and then we'll go there. So they believe that it's still all active somewhere within this black hole. And I have no idea what the agenda is, by the way. It's not clear at all. It's one of those nice threads that I actually enjoy from Gerry. He's not giving too much away. I don't even know how this came about. It doesn't feel like it was something that was dropped in there. So Monette and Forge start flying through time and space, perhaps. They're not really sure, but they see different versions of themselves. Perhaps older versions of them. Maybe they're together. I don't know. And, you know, lots of weird stuff going on. So there we go. And then it just stops. And the Broad versus the Marvel Universe. Now, I didn't realize till recently that Captain Marvel has actually a story called Revenge of the Broad going on in the background. So I've decided to actually pick them up because I feel if we're doing the Lord of the Brood, part 1, Lord of the Brood. Sorry, that was ridiculous. I felt like I should be reading that as well. Not sure whether that's pivotal to this particular story, but I'm going to get it. So I will review those at some point. Now, we'll also see that Laura has gone to calling herself Talon, and Monette is calling herself Penance. I never really understood the Penance thing because I felt like that was, when she was Penance, that was her brother encasing her in that so he could control her, and she couldn't really do anything other than lash out. And it wasn't a part of her. He created it. However, it seems to be a part of her these days, and she can transform sometimes at will, usually when she loses her crap sort of thing. So that bit still throws me. But hey, you know, they sometimes retcon things, etc. So Gerry Duggan is on the writing. Stefano is on the art. Federico is on the colors. VC's Clank House is back on the letters. Tom Miller and Jay Boner on design. And then there's lots of different variants if you're interested. So we get this little bit about the cycle of the Broad. I didn't read it. As always, I'm not a fan of those. I will read it when I read this on Unlimited when I catch up at that some point. So many different X titles to keep up on, and sometimes it's it's hard work. I mean, I'll still always continue buying this. I'm certainly very interested in the Sins of the Sinister event going on, and Extreme X-Men is the other one that I'm picking up. But sometimes they can overload us with multiple titles, and I think the fact that it's gone away from it, it seemed to have, when they first started, it seemed to have a purpose. You know, you had Excalibur, you had X Force, you had Wolverine, you had the Marauders, you had X-Men, and then over time, Hellions dropped off, Excalibur dropped off. This new book came in, and it sort of lost the consistency of, we have a goal and we're moving in the same direction. No, we're just all doing our same different stories that we want to do based around this island and these X characters. Also, New Mutants is in there, which I think is still going on. That's the one I'm reading at the moment. I think I struggle a bit with New Mutants for some reason. So they had a distress signature from Corsair, who is in a bad way. So they are going into the Starjammer. So Cyclops splits up the team, and Jean and Ileana can go find Brew to find out what's going on. Magic makes a great comment about, oh man, I hate to think that that little dude broke bad. You know what I mean? Because Brew's the nicest broad in the world. You know, I love that character. Firestar and Iceman are on extermination control, which is pretty awesome. So we get this sort of this battle fighting against the Broad. Now the weird thing is, Iceman sort of refers to the Broad scaring him, but I don't really remember him. He probably has had interactions. I certainly in Wolverine and the X-Men when Kitty Pryde was pregnant with lots of baby Broads. But I don't remember, because when the Broad was coming out, it was mainly the second Genesis X-Men team that sort of fought them. And I remember there is the Broad saga, and I can't remember if that was in the prelude to the Inferno event, or whether that was actually during Jim Lee's time, and perhaps it was when Iceman and Rogue were on the road, etc. But in terms of his reactions here, has he had enough interactions with them, or is he just aware of them, that they are bloody weird and scary, and I don't want to know about those bogeymen. But anyway, he says he shed a lot of his fears where he transformed Arico. Not sure how you shed your fears. Your fears are in your mind, but I think that is something. Didn't Iceman never develop into this Omega level, or whatever they're calling them these days, mutants, because he always feared his power, in terms of he didn't embrace it and learn it and become what he should have become a long time ago? Wasn't that a lot of his problem back then as well? And you know, if we remember correctly, Emma Frost certainly used to wind him up about his potential, but I'm not also sure if, when she was in his body, I'm not also sure if that was the one of those hints that the fact that Bobby was gay and still hiding in the closet, bless him. And he you know, he was desperate for that secret not to come out as well, because he you know, he was always focused on other things rather than embracing that part of himself. So I think what he's saying is he's now embraced his full self, which is great. And you know, Iceman is a good character. I'm certainly enjoying what we are reading with Iceman here, and I love this sort of relationship that him and Firestar have. You know, they're always being thrown together because I think they complement each other, Fire and Ice. She also likes this sort of fight because actually now she is able to cut loose. Um, she does talk about changing her name, but I felt like I was lost in the moment. And she says to him, "Do you think the name is sexist?" Um, watch out and don't. Yeah, I don't know where she says it. I just could not see it, and it just didn't seem to make sense. And Iceman just says, "I would refer you to Gene on that one." Anyway, so 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 the science lab is destroyed, and Jean knows that Brew wouldn't damage it. Once again, I'm not sure the interactions of Jean and Brew at this point as well. They can't have been very interactive when, Jean came in. I'm trying to think when she was resurrected by Michael Rosenberg, but I can't remember, but I guess they're on Krakow. She probably does try and build these relationships, I guess, but I'm probably just not seen it much in comic form. So she reached out to some of the other telepathics to try and find them. But apparently he is not on Earth. So take us to Arico, where they think he's at the Prometheus port. So the rest of the team are looking for Christopher Summer, which Laura finds him, or Talon finds him quite quickly. Talon is quite a cool name, actually. And he is ready to pop, bless him. And he makes a joke about, you know what, before I popped it, I thought I'd give you another brother out of the blue. You got to remember Gabrielle Summers, which was the kept secret. We were always hinted that there was a third Summers brother, but it was never revealed who. We thought that there was lots of candidates at the time. I think Gambit, Adam X, and none of them really showed up, etc. So they are going to go. So Cyclops is going to fight the Broad and keep the Broad at the back. Weiss, Laura, and Cinch do open heart surgery down below to remove the baby from the womb, which is in Christopher Summers, which is weird. However, he makes a joke, when we were actually playing Doctors over 500 years in the vault, we were actually playing Doctors, etc. So Cinch is trying to keep Christopher Summers' brains off. Once Laura goes in there to surgically remove the baby. So they're being very, very careful, etc. And Cyclops is obviously very concerned and worried, and wanting to get his dad home and maybe not rush this. However, and Laura says, "Keep an eye on the door, please. They're coming." So the baby Broad, they were trying to be careful because it is a baby. However, it goes for her, and they end up killing him, etc. One thing that we learn is Cinch says that he can he learned some skills after the vault, whereas in the vault he couldn't hold things together the way that he can now, because he's learned stuff since he's been outside of here, etc. And Cyclops says they are extraordinary, which is true. They are extraordinary. So they're making their way back, so he's using Jean's power to telekinetically move Christopher Summers, was holding the parts in there. The trouble is, he's worried that if he overreached and took Ileana's powers, he could potentially lose this control here. He is worried about overexerting himself. So they make a way back to the base. There's lots of them, and Iceman and Firestar said they barely scratched the surface. So they need magic. They need to get back sort of home to save Chris, and Iceman put up a cover so we can sort ourselves out. Within here as well, it's finally sort of revealed from Laura. So this shows you how intimate this relationship is. He tells her everything, and she says that if Everett reaches out further than an arm's length, so say for example he's already exerting Jean, who we know is elsewhere, he ends up aging quite rapidly. So if he reaches out to magic as well, he's going to put himself at risk, as well as what he's already considered at risk in terms of he's worried that he could he's worried that he could let go. And Corsair obviously apologizes because he says he was the trap to capture the X-Men. Meanwhile, somewhere in space, unknown, Forge and Monette find their bodies. Are they dead? No, they were probably not, because they believe that they have just been they're sort of like a floating consciousness in space. So they're not dead, but they are out of their bodies. I think that's correct. Could be completely wrong. However, Monette says, have you ever seen this area of space that looks like that? And he says, nobody has. So what have they discovered? Well, firstly, I want to know how this all came about. It's not very clear. It may have popped up in an issue or so ago, and perhaps I just overlooked it. I could have overlooked it. However, the issue ends not with the Brood, but it ends up with this mighty, what looks like an Asgardian sort of celestial head floating around, or maybe it's just Unicron and they've been watching Transformers. Who knows? I guess we'll find out next issue. But that is issue 20, the Brood King, the King of the Brood, or whatever it's called, I've forgotten already, has begun, and it was all right. It was all right. Let's see what next issue brings. Gerry's doing what I think he does best. He's dropping in little mysteries in the background with the Forge story. I always enjoyed that part of Gerry. He's also got a main story going on with a main agenda, and there's still a little bit of cryptic. It is, where is Brew? Jean and Magic have gone off, and the team get sort of caught out in trouble, which you don't worry too much about this team. Let's be honest, with this, when it comes to this X-Men team, am I ever worried about this team that they're not going to survive or anything like that? Probably not, but the Brood are on them. They've been caught out. They are trapped. How do they escape? They've been manipulated with the Corsair thing. It's all pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm very happy with this issue. I really did enjoy it. It's got some really cool art going on there as well. So anyway, hope you like my video. If you do, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you look after yourself. Very important these days. And as always, embrace geekiness. Take care. Goodbye.